We're counting down the top 10 radio station research mistakes, and we're all the way up to finding number 6, overly long questionnaire. You have nothing to say about this one, Carolyn.
Oh, absolutely not. No, my entire position is people go into this process with, I need this, and I need this, and I need this, and forget that they need it from human beings. And I participate in a lot of surveys just to see what other people are doing. And I absolutely will, even though I want to see where they're going, I will get to a point and go, enough.
I call them scorched earth research, where it just drags
Exactly.
on and on and on.
With redundant questions,
Yeah.
with questions with 50 choices, lists that are 40 or 50 long. Do you agree or disagree? By the time you get to the bottom of the list, the answer is, I don't care.
I'm making an abstract painting by randomizing the dots.
Exactly. And, you forget, and I used to hear this on the telephone when we had call centers. There are human beings there. I hope so. I hope they're not bots. We do a lot of testing to make sure they're not bots. But, you can see it in verbatim answers. You can see it when people are just done.
Right.
And if you want good information, ask good questions and don't ask too many of it. You really need to parse what you need to know versus what you want to know. And what you know, people don't care about. I don't need 25 slogans to know they don't care whether you say more music, less talk, or less talk, more music. They don't care.
Yep. So we have 2 basic types of research that radio stations do. We have the online music testing, which is, obviously, and there's also old school call out, I guess, still, and old school auditory music tests. But in general, we're testing hooks and sometimes hooks with questions. And then we have the perceptual only type questionnaires. So I'd like to ask you, let's start with the music stuff. Let's do the version of call out we call OMR. What do you think the optimal number of song hooks is that you could get away with in any one session?
No more than 40. This needs to be a 5-minute quick in, quick out interview. And so, if you're going to do call out, It shouldn't be more than 40 hooks.
And is there a way, because I know we take advantage of a lot of technology. Do we build in any sort of way where a respondent can leave the questionnaire and come back to it if they get interrupted?
Not for the 5-minute version.
Got it. Not for the short ones.
For the long version, yes.
Yep.
Absolutely. Our system will send them an email with a link to exactly where they left off. So
that probably segues into what we would now call online auditory music tests. And that's where you're testing, again, maybe let's start with the kind of the hook limit for any one respondent. What do you think a good number is when you're testing a library?
You know what? 300 to 400 for any one respondent, which is why we introduced the EXT.
Right. That's the online music testing product where you can actually use more sample for the same price.
Exactly. You double the sample. Half the hooks for double the sample. Perfect demographic breakouts, and you get better research.
So you're still getting the same number of respondents behind any one hook, but you can test 500-600 songs that way and know that you're not going to be dealing with respondent fatigue. And
every single client who's used the EXT has loved it.
And there's no difference in price.
None.
Yep.
None.
So are there any other benefits? Because I know that we like to throw in perceptual questions. So I would imagine if we're giving respondents not too many hooks and a break where they can come back, is it possible to ask more questions? Absolutely. Well, we don't ask more questions, but more respondents answer each question. Right. That makes, right. Because you can put the same questions behind double the respondents. Exactly. So that little 100 sample perceptual becomes now a 200 to 300 sample little perceptual, and suddenly your base is a lot more reliable. I remember back when you had me going around in the markets where I was the corporate snitch and I would not only implement test results for clients, but I'd also conduct the research. And I remember the perceptual questions sort of broke up the monotony of the hooks. Yes, they still do. We put them in between the music pods. Our pods are 60 hooks,
And that's, more for, you could do it at 100, but we use pods of 60 because of bandwidth. People have varying bandwidth, and we don't want the system to buffer or get bogged down. 60 works everywhere. 60 works on your phone. If you're not, you don't even have to be on Wi-Fi. So
we've talked a lot about music research in this countdown, but I think this is the place to really go after overly long perceptuals. And I think as a former client of yours back in the old days when I was a radio program director, I violated a lot of cardinal rules. But isn't it true that most perceptuals, they're still on the phone, for goodness sake, and they're way too long?
Well, some are on the phone. My big beef with polling right now for politics is that it's residential phone, and it makes my head want to explode.
Are you kidding me? Do they really still just use phone?
I always check methodology, and the vast majority are still using much too much phone or text with no verification, or it's bad research.
So that explains why now the polls have very little to do with general election results.
Exactly. Well, I've joked with someone from Burke Market Research years ago, like 20 years ago. The only people answering phone research are people with no lives or other researchers.
Yep. And I think political research is a great it's a great avenue for a radio program director who's about to commission a perceptual. Go through a political research study where they dig so deep into issues that you don't give a crap about, and they go deep, and it's long and repetitive, and it's one after the other.
Exactly. And the thing is about long questionnaires, we've talked about this before. Radio research tends to be us focused instead of listener focused.
Yep.
They don't care about your midday guy. A list of 25 personalities is a waste of time. You got a hot morning show or there are a few of those, great. Ask about those and how the respondent responds to them and how they make them feel. Talk about what they're doing while they're listening. Talk about things that drives them crazy about the radio. Talk about them instead of us.
Yep. And how the radio station makes them feel. That's a big one.
Exactly. And, can you imagine walking into a restaurant and having the maitre d' come up and say, we're the #1 hit spaghetti restaurant. I don't care. I want dinner. We don't even promote ourselves with benefit driven. So #1, ask questions that are relevant, and you're going to get much shorter because it's about them. And by the way, you're going to get better responses because everybody likes to talk about themselves.
Yep.
And the second thing is, I've seen questions with an exposition that's a paragraph long. I don't read that. Tell me what you want me to do. Agree, disagree, like, dislike. I don't need 25 versions of importance. And if there are things aren't important, don't ask about it. I don't care about the stock reports on the radio. I got this for that.
And we've done so many morning image tests. We can tell you how most people feel about DJ jokes, fake commercials, and skits. It's not going to be a big majority, but it really is just talent dependent, and it's something that's hard to test.
Exactly. Yep. And now if you want to use some of your inventory to test actual art, actual audio, that's great use of inventory, and it's stuff that engages.
I don't think a lot of people know that we have the ability to do any type of multimedia questions on a perceptual study.
Audio, video, we can do heat maps on art. We can see where their eyes are going.
Yep.
We can record actual verbatim comments in our system. We can have them turn on a camera and we can see them if we want. There's all sorts of stuff we can do in research to get better information. But again, stop making these 45-minute questionnaires.
Yep. The other thing I've seen you do lately with clients and a lot of organizations in the broadcast business is you'll gather together, 5 to 10 respondents, do one-on-one interviews where they raise issues, and then you use the perceptual to follow up on the big ones. So you can really discount a lot of stuff that they don't care about.
I'll tell you, new technologies has made that so much easier. We even have a new platform rolling out where you could even be in the room eating your M&Ms in your office while we do a group, you can watch as the client. We do one-on-one interviews and get really good information. We used to say, if you're doing focus groups, you don't know your business very much. And I'm going to tell you, it's 2024. We don't know our business anymore. Our business has changed and a lot of people haven't caught up. So hearing what respondents say is impactful. And then you take the issues that they raise and put it into a perceptual study. Then you can get some good information. Again,
so this is a lot like being behind the glass, the one-way mirror in a field service office where you're conducting focus groups, but these are one-on-one interviews or maybe even groups, and you're right Absolutely. There. You can talk to the researcher. You can prompt them to ask different questions, that kind of thing, right? There's a back channel.
Absolutely. We're marketing this product is everything you've always had except the M&Ms. You got to buy your own.
So that right away would allow people to cut down on the superfluous stuff and really get to the meat of issues. So putting your experience hat on now, let's start with those still conducting phone-based research, which I know you'd argue terrible. It does not project to the general market. The interviewer can lead the respondent and bias the test, but but people still do it. So what's an optimal length of a phone-based interview these days? And I know you don't do them anymore.
I won't, but they're 10 minutes tops.
Oh boy. So when I commissioned the Denver Rock Spectrum study, where we not only tested the images of 4 radio stations, but then tried to figure out if we should go country. By the way, this is years ago for those of you on speed dial with your lawyers trying to get me to catch me in violation of my NDA. I don't think so. But the fact is, I think it was a 40-minute interview, and it was a format search and a perceptual study for 4 radio stations all in one. A little grandiose.
You got yelled at for it.
I did.
But you were the client.
Yep. All right.
The results you got probably weren't all that good either for that very reason.
Well, the answer was do nothing. And then for 20 years, I think that's exactly what happened. They may have recently changed format there or gotten rid of one of those stations. All right. Final question is online music testing. Perceptual testing, the absolute maximum, and then the preferred interview length. So people have some general idea of benchmarks to hit.
Understanding that you can ask a third more questions in the format.
Oh, that's true.
You're not having an interviewer read every.
No happy talk between the two.
Do you agree or disagree with this? Do you agree or disagree? I mean, seriously, it can be literally sometimes twice as many questions. The maximum length I do is 20 minutes, which is really what used to be a 30 to 35 minute interview before.
Yep.
I prefer 10 to 15 minutes. And if you do a single focused short interview, we've got something called the ASAP study.
That's right.
Really focus on a couple of issues tops. That can be a 7 to 10 minute interview and get you a lot of information. And
that, when I last chatted with you, was priced several $100s below $10,000.
It's $9,500, 300 sample, no more than, 2 issues tops,
yep.
Main issues.
You're not doing a format search with this one.
No, you don't do a format search with this one. But you can do a music mapping study if you want, or you can test your morning shows if you want.
Test the contest prizes and the messaging around a ratings-based marketing campaign. Maybe even test your marketing elements, because we do audio visual, so you can do videos and display.
Exactly. So there it is.
So once again, the takeaway is in research, less is more, and overly long questionnaire designs just don't get you.
That expression still makes me twitch a little bit, but yeah, you're right.
Garbage in, garbage out. We'll be back with finding number 5 in our top 10 research mistakes that radio stations commit.
NuVoodoo builds digital products and conducts research and marketing campaigns for clients.
It's easy to get in touch. Drop us a line at tellmemore@nuvoodoo.com.